Greetings and welcome back to part 2. We, in the previous video, showed you and explained you this, the original manuscripts translated into English from the Kitab Ashrat Lashana Atika Supriya, translated into English by native-born Aramaic speaking Mesopotamian Breetah in Alexander. This is his down site that we revived. Okay, what he did with the original manuscripts, he had in Bible format. You can see him reading from on his video. Put in YouTube search the Aramaic scriptures, it should come up with a video saying Adam and Eve, incorrectly put even. Yeah, but don't let that worry you so much. And you'll see a elderly gentleman reading from what looks like a Bible, right, and talking about this, the Breetah, basically the same, right, information in a funny sounding language. That's the original Aramaic, because he, the Lashana, Atika, etc., whatever he details on that video, because he found a way to revive those scriptures, right, a dead language. He found a way, realised it was simple to do it that way, probably because they had a modern vernacular or something. I don't know. You have to email him and ask for the details on that. This is just what we've come to understand from what out of the horse's mouth, you could say. Okay, so he, as we did, talks about the Breetah or creation, and that's the real name of the book of Genesis. So, right, we're going to jump again to another person who, like Breetah in Alexander, managed to get hold of the original manuscripts, hidden and preserved, never tampered with by the original Church of the East, founded by the original disciple Thomas, possibly Peter, Addai, and Thaddeus or Jude. This is a website by Andrew Gabriel Roth. Okay, keep in mind that this is the Syriac, the Aramaic, the Eastern Syriac Peshitta. Okay, so for this naysayer that said it doesn't exist, etc., etc., there is no manuscripts, well, eat my shorts, because here is a picture of one of those original manuscripts. Okay, and this website features the holy Aramaic scriptures as preserved in the ancient Eastern Aramaic text of the New Testament in manuscripts, such as the Yonan Codex, the Khabura's Codex, the 1199 Horton Codex, and the Mingana 148 Codex, for you to read and study, given as literal as possible a rendering of the holy biblical text in a fresh, accurate, and literal English translations. So here's the Syriac font. Okay, here's it in English, and what he's done so you could learn Syriac is put the meaning of the words in English next to it, okay, wherever possible. Shalom, peace. We usually say that in our introduction. From Allah Abu, okay, here it says God our Father, and from Maran Ishu Mashika, our Lord Jesus Yeshua, the Anointed One, or Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah. Okay, very different from the Lashana Atika Supriya, right? Kitab Ashrat, because this is the derivative, the modern version of the Aramaic, right? Because this Breetah in Alexander, when he's translating using the Syriac, was met up or was approached by a high priest of that original church. You see what he's doing? He says, I'm translating from the Syriac into English for all my friends, etc., and others who are interested, right? He says, okay. So he came back and he says, no, what are you doing? Oh, I just finished it. Maybe the New Testament or something. Going to work on the Old. He says, now why did you translate it from the Syriac? He says, oh, because blah, blah, blah. He says, well, it's actually wrong. You should have translated, I think he said it probably more nicely, from the original, which was the Kitab Ashurai or Ashrat. So he goes, oh my gosh, I have to do it all over again. I'm so old, whatever, right? I'm little, not that great in health, maybe. This is what I'm going off from his website, etc. So he worked on it anyway, because he believed that if he passed, as we all will once someday, that somebody might pick it up from where he left off and continue his work and finish it. I'd like to do that, but in the email I asked him, can I learn the Aramaic, the old ancient Aramaic? and do that for you. And he says, well, in all honesty, you Westerners pick it up is very hard, so just trust his translation. So that's what I've been doing for these last 3 or 4 years since I've stumbled across it and communicated with him through email. Okay, so this Andrew Gabriel Roth has translated it much like Victor N. Alexander does, without the prejudice, bias, twisting it, adding his own flavour and opinions and stuff. You know, he's translated it from the original Eastern Syriac Breetah into the nearest possible English that he can, right? Staying faithful to what these original manuscripts, texts, scriptures actually say. And these little books here. And he makes a little statement. And there's one statement that's missing, but you can find it in his ebook on this, as we mentioned in other videos. Text. The Aramaic text used to translate here at the AramaicScriptures.com is from the Eastern Aramaic manuscripts, such as the Kabbalah manuscript, pictured above. So that's a manuscript, very old manuscript, right? Not a copy of copies, right? Or some English version. The Kabbalah Kabbalah manuscript, it being a handwritten Eastern Aramaic New Testament, said to have been scribed in the ancient city of Nineveh, and which is thought to have taken place sometime between 800 to 1000 AD, and said to have been officially certified by a bishop of the Holy Apostolic Catholic Church of the East as being a faithful copy of a much older Eastern Aramaic New Testament manuscript, likely scribed during the mid-5th century. Okay, so it was later. So this Victor N. Alexander has got the 2nd century one, right? And he's translated that from the original Kitab Ashurai into English, and also the Galilean Aramaic New Testament. Disciples, he's translated into a Bible format and called it the Disciples New Testament. Okay, you got the Aramaic New Testament, which you have a copy of. Okay, so he's translated this Eastern Syriac Breetah, which in turn itself was a faithful copy of that original Aramaic New Testament, probably Victor N. Alexander's 1st or 2nd century one, believed to have been produced in the ancient city of Edessa in the late 1st or early 2nd century, as we stated just a minute ago. A number of Eastern Breetah manuscripts have been examined for this translation. This is what Andrew Gabriel Roth has done, as well as the BFBS UBS text of the 1905-1920 Aramaic New Testament, which is said to be a critical text of about 70 to 80 Aramaic manuscripts. So there's heaps of them, consisting of both the Eastern and Western versions, and also the 5th to 6th century Aramaic manuscripts housed in the British Museum, numbered 14,470, 14,453, 14,473 and 14,475. The manuscripts consulted for the actual translation are various 5th to 6th century manuscripts, like the Goodspeed MS 716, manuscripts number 17 and number 54 from St. Catherine's Monastery, and that's what the Passion of the Christ was based on. Her vision, right? Her passion, right? What do they call it? Something like the Passion of. It's had another name too. I can't remember what it was. Dolores Passion, I think. Yeah. Maybe it was this lady Dolores' vision, not so much St. Catherine's, but maybe it was found there. And the scenes of St. Catherine, you know what, on the Passion of the Christ, where Mary drops the handkerchief, or Christ, somebody gives him a handkerchief and it drops on the ground and she picks it up. Yeah, okay, that's Mel Gibson, being Orthodox Catholic, and the other guy Jim, playing Jesus, yeah, putting their little bit of Roman Catholicism in their Orthodox Roman Catholicism, according to this Dolores Passion. Go read up on that, on the movie, right? And what it was all really about behind the scenes. Okay, so where were we? Okay, the Ionian Codex, 8th to 9th century manuscripts, like the Paris Syriac 342 Codex, 10th to 11th century manuscripts like the VAT 510 manuscript and the Kabbalah Codex, pictured above. 12th, 13th century manuscripts like the 1199 AD Horton Codex and 1261 AD Syrian 9 Codex manuscript And lastly, the 613 AD Mangana Codex, which is known as the Textus Receptus. Okay, it was written in Greek, probably Koine Greek, of the Eastern Aramaic New Testament, or maybe actually this is Latin, which means the received text. Okay, of the Eastern Aramaic New Testament. These were carefully compared with when a scribal mistake in one of the manuscripts was made, while making certain that all the original Eastern readings were present in this English translation, as preserved by the Holy Apostolic Catholic Church of the East since the time of the Apostles. And there should have been a piece here where the head patriarch, Ma Isa Shamun, he's taken it out for some reason, or it's been taken out, whatever, that testifies that they were, given the manuscripts by the founder of the church, Ma Thomas, his blessed hands, whatever, and they were hidden and preserved for 2,000 years from the Roman Catholics in Islam. He just wanted an end anyway, and and he testifies in 1957 that they weren't messed with, as does Victor Alexander and of course Andrew Gabriel Roftu. Okay. So they were preserved by the Apostolic Church, Catholic Church of the East since the times of the Apostles, wrongly called the Nestorian Church. They had another history of that church. They said that Notorious had a falling out with somebody else over the hypostasis. They claim that, with the belief that Jesus the Messiah, Jesus the Christ, was both God and man. He was divine and human. So they split, or Notorious split, and they were erroneously called the Nestorian Church because they agreed with what he said, but they did say, well, we had that belief way before that guy came along, right? We admire him, we honour him, but we're not basing our church on him, right? So they split, etc., etc. They had some disagreement with the Roman Catholic Church ideals, etc. Okay, and they basically stuck to what they believe the original disciples were taught, seen, heard, and taught and done, right? The traditions, customs, etc. over the centuries, and they've stuck to the manuscript. They've never messed with it in any way, right? Unless, like here, the translator finds there's a mistake. It should be pointed out that the Aramaic language is an older sister language of the Hebrew. That's the ancient or very old Hebrew, not this Israelite Hebrew or this modern Hebrew. A Semitic language, it means that they're like a mixture of different peoples, right? That's why you've got the Ethiopian Jew, the Asian Jew, the Indian Jew, etc. Don't fall for the 12 tribes of Israel chart, the Hebrew Israelites, etc., etc., because as we have proven through a documentary by Dutch Jew, what's his name? Simcha Jobovich, who went looking for the lost 10 tribes with a white Jew, a Jew from Israel, right, who confirmed all these people that they came across, Asian, Indians, etc. They were making the traditional matzah, unleavened bread, etc., and doing all these other traditional customs, etc., rituals, whatever. And he's remarked about all of them, who the heck taught them that? How do they know that? The only way they can know that is if they were of those lost tribes. Okay? And they asked those people, who taught you this? And they said, well, we don't know. We've just been doing it for centuries and centuries. Okay? So they were considered by both of them, especially the guy from Israel, as true Jews, the lost tribes, etc. Because there was no other way in heaven or hell that they could be taught that, right? That they could know that, unless it was passed down. So it should be pointed out that the Aramaic language is an older sister language of the Hebrew. a Semitic language of the Middle Eastern region of the world, which it is very close to in its construction, alphabet and vocabulary. Yeah. But over time they've modified it, not having vowels, only consonants. They added vowels, dot system, etc. Excuse to make it easier for others to learn, to be able to read, etc. Whether they're right or wrong, you have to prove that. Okay, so yeah, when they did that, it not only changed the structure, also changed the meaning of the words. So now they have similar words but different meanings. Yom and Yuma. Elohim, Elohim, and the Hebrew Elohim, Elohim.